Michael Gove, the chair of the Commons Business and Trade Committee, said the government can't escape the truth that Britain now trades with its biggest partner on terms that are worse than in the past. We are lumbered with these tariffs, and it doesn't look like they are going to be lifted.
No, but we've got a better deal than the EU. We've got a better deal than almost anyone else. It might be the case that people...
Yes, but a relatively poor situation is still a poor situation.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, we won. It's an ugly contest, not a beauty contest, when it comes to trade with Donald Trump. But from the Americans' point of view, they think that the global trade system was rigged against them. They saw jobs going from America to China and elsewhere. And we might understandably feel aggrieved that we've been America's most loyal ally and we're still hit with tariffs. But in the dog-eat-dog world of international economics, you've got to take whatever advantage you can.
Well, let's ask James Murray, the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, who's gone ahead to Chequers, exactly that point. Very good morning to you.
Morning.
A huge deal, obviously, this AI and tech investment. But how do you respond to a member of your own party, Liam Byrne, Labour chair of the Business and Trade Committee, saying Britain now trades with its biggest partner on terms worse than in the past? You can't ignore that fact, can you?
Well, look, you're right to say that this deal today is huge. This is a really big package of investment. This is a real vote of confidence in the British economy and in our country. It's £150 billion of investment over the next 10 years. And it will be invested in different parts of the country, creating jobs and clean energy sources, as well as all of the technological innovations that will come with it. So this is really good. Well, look, the tariffs are a global factor. Like, the US is applying tariffs around the world. What we need to do within that context is get the best possible deal for Britain. And that's why the Prime Minister has been so determined to fight for the British national interest. And look, what the Prime Minister has done is made sure he's built on the long and special and strong relationship between the US and the UK, and he has delivered deals that no other country in the world has got, and he's delivered those deals by working with President Trump, by working with the US, to make sure that within the global context that we find ourselves, we're getting the best possible deal for Britain, and that's why we're so pleased to have this £150 billion investment.
Are you telling the steel industry that a 25% tariff is the best deal we can get? There's no hope of getting that down?
Well, I would point out that we're the only country who are not subject to the 50% tariff, and that's a result of being the first country to get a deal. Now, obviously, we will always keep fighting for the steel industry as one of the really important industries in Britain. I'm sure conversations will keep happening with the US because we want to make sure we're supporting the UK steel industry in every possible way we can. But we're in a better position as a result of what the Prime Minister has achieved by working with President Trump in the US.
How comfortable are you at how far we've had to bend over during this visit and avoid very important topics which we really should be discussing with the American president? For example, we are delaying our announcement that we're going to recognise the state of Palestine until after he's gone. But almost as soon as he's gone, it's expected to be this weekend, the British government will say that they recognise Palestine as a sovereign state. But they won't do it while the president's here. It's a bit weak, isn't it?
Well, on that point, particularly around recognition of a Palestinian state, the Prime Minister announced the process around this earlier in the year, and that a decision would be taken ahead of the United Nations General Assembly. That is the timescale that we set out. I think it's later this month, and the Prime Minister set out the conditions that would be evaluated ahead of the UN General Assembly. So that timetable has long been known and has long been set out. What the Prime Minister is focused on today, and what we've been focused on as a government, is making sure that we're doing everything we can to boost investment in the UK through our partnership with the US. And some of the deals that we've struck around the technology partnership, around accelerating nuclear energy, around the investments right across Britain are really good news for Britain. And I'm sure that's what the Prime Minister will be focused on today.
One of the big issues at the moment for people watching from home who might have looked at that lavish banquet last night is inflation is stubbornly above the target. It's at 3.8. But food inflation is 5.1%. That means your food shop is going up month after month after month. And we have this survey out today saying that a huge number of people aren't even considering putting the heating on again this winter. What does that say about your promise to put more money back into the pockets of working people? And what do you think is going to be done to alleviate people's cost of living concerns in the budget?
Well, we know that, as you say, a lot of families across the country are finding things tough, which is why our focus is on bringing costs down and, as you rightly say, putting more money in people's pockets. So there are actions we've taken already, whether that's raising the national living wage, extending the £3 cap on bus fares, extending free school meals to more children. But what we also need to do is make sure we're growing the economy and getting our economy in a better position, because that's the way to get more money in people's pockets. And going into the budget this autumn, in November, obviously it's for the Chancellor to make announcements on the 26th of November. But what I know absolutely is how firmly she will stick to her fiscal rules. Now, talking about fiscal rules might sound a bit abstract, and you might say, what has that got to do with day-to-day life? But if you stick to fiscal rules, if you have a tight grip on day-to-day spending, that then means that you can bring down inflation and bring down the cost of borrowing, and that's really important for people's lives.
Can we talk about immigration before we leave you? The Home Secretary spoke very trenchantly yesterday about, in her view, the way that illegal immigrants to this country are abusing the human rights laws in order to stay here. The one-in, one-out policy is frozen. It's frozen by the courts. It looks like it's going to stay frozen for at least another 2 weeks and maybe beyond that. What's your view? Do you think we should be reforming our human rights laws in this country, or basically leaving the European Court of Human Rights, just getting out completely and doing everything our way?
So look, the Home Secretary made clear how intensely frustrated she is, as am I, as are we all in government, to be honest, by this last-minute vexatious claim that's been made. And we want to stop that from happening, because we want these deportations to go ahead. And the Home Secretary couldn't have been clearer in what she said in the last couple of days, which is that she will fight this every step of the way. She will stand up for the British public in court to make sure that we have these deportations going ahead. And we won't let these vexatious last-minute attempts to frustrate what we're trying to do get in our way. And she made clear that that's her priority.
There's about 5.5 hours to go before the press conference in the building behind you in Chequers, where finally questions are going to be put directly to the President and, of course, to the Prime Minister. Are you nervous about it?
Not at all. I think it's going to be a fantastic day. I mean, I think that what happened yesterday in Windsor was brilliant, to see the President being so warmly received by the King and the Prime Minister and all the other guests. I think you could see in how the President spoke, how genuinely fond he is of the UK and how much he seems to value that relationship, which is fantastic for the relationship between our two countries. And then today, what's going to be focused on is the economy and trade and investment. Okay. And that's what really is going to make a difference to people's lives. We spoke about the £150 billion earlier. Yeah. Can I give you one example of? Can I give you one example of where that money's going? Have I got time to?
Very quickly, in a sentence.
Yeah. So money going into Hartlepool to build up to 12 advanced modular reactors, small nuclear power reactors. That's energy for 1.5 million homes, 2,500 jobs, billions for the economy. That's the kind of example of what it means in people's real lives.
It remains to be seen if the President will think that it was a fantastic press conference when it comes to a close later this afternoon.